welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to a live Manchester United news and transfer news show. Saudi move agreed. Is Casemiro to Saudi agreed? What is that breaking story that came out late last night from what I believe is quite a credible South American journalist? There is a lot of rumours of Casemiro to Saudi, personal terms agreed. Eriksen exit this month. Eriksen set to leave Manchester United. Douglas Luiz being looked at as a Casemiro Eriksen replacement on loan. Marcus Rashford, does he pick AC Milan? Some advancements there. Garnacho has interest from PSG, Atletico and other clubs. Could he be sold? Nuno Mendes apparently pushing for the Manchester United move, and United believe a sale could free up the funds to bring Nuno Mendes in. One to watch. Luke Shaw set to return in the coming weeks. A few other stories going about as well. Colomwani, but also Kvaratskhelia. Manchester United eyeing up Kvaratskhelia as a Marcus Rashford replacement. So lots of stories, lots of news coming out. So if you do enjoy today's video, please do go ahead and hit that like button. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I want to get into all the news, the transfer stories coming out. There's also just other stories coming out, like West Ham want Marcus Rashford, but again, don't think there's much in it. I think the situation with Rashford is he wants to leave United for a club that he thinks is a top club so he can get back into the England setup. And I think while West Ham, what they did with Lingard was very good, I think that, he's turned down Como. I think his focus is AC Milan. But yeah, let's dive into some updates coming in then. So it was said that Casemiro is very close to moving to Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Sovereign Fund have practically closed the transfer. The contract with Casemiro is agreed. The club he will join will be defined later. So this is interesting because obviously the Saudi own like 4 or 5 of the biggest clubs there. So what is coming out? Now, I think Bruno Andrade is an all right source of information. It's not Romano, it's not Ornstein, of course. But I don't think he's a bad source of information. But this is quite a rogue story in the sense of we haven't heard anything from Ornstein, we haven't heard anything from Romano. But he's saying Casemiro is very close to moving to Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Sovereign Fund have practically closed the transfer and the contract with Casemiro is agreed. He will join the club he will join is defined later, but they're basically saying that Casemiro to Saudi is agreed, that a Saudi deal is agreed for Casemiro. Now, the way I sense it is maybe Casemiro has agreed he's open to moving to Saudi and he's had conversations with Saudi, his agent and his representatives have been out there, and maybe he's agreed a contact with Saudi and said, yeah, I'd be interested in the Saudi move. And now it's about potentially agreeing a fee with Manchester United and finding the club for Casemiro to move to. I think this could be one to watch because Casemiro wants the Saudi move. He's open to the Saudi move. There's been talks there. United are open to selling him, and Saudi Arabia really want to bring Casemiro in. So this is massively one to keep an eye on. He said that, the deal is agreed. The contract's agreed. So, his Saudi to Casemiro sort of been agreed. But obviously, they still need to go and find a deal with United. United might want 30 million. Saudi might want to pay 20 million. They still need to find a deal with United. But there's reports coming out from Saudi, from UOL, that Casemiro actually has agreed a contract with potentially Saudi. He's open to the move. His agent is there. So we could get some interesting developments on Casemiro in the coming hours, in the coming days. Again, you'll have to be a bit patient and take it with a pinch of salt. Where am I getting information? I put the source up on screen. Bruno Andrade UL. We obviously have to take it with a pinch of salt because it's not Ornstein, it's not Romano, and right now I don't know what to think because I think this is a good source of information, but I don't fully believe it yet. I believe that there's contact between Casemiro and Saudi, and maybe Casemiro has given a verbal agreement to Saudi that he wants to move and has probably agreed upon the wages with Saudi, and there's probably been some kind of agreement. But there hasn't been any bids from Saudi to Man United yet. And until Saudi make a bid and until we agree a bid, accept a bid that Saudi make, nothing's going to happen. So I think we have to wait and see what Ornstein, Whitwell, Simon Stone, and Fabrizio Romano, someone that's a bit more reliable saying that. Ben Jacobs saying it's on, but I think Ben Jacobs can be a little bit of a waffle merchant at times. So, Ben Jacobs isn't a bad source of information, but Ben Jacobs just likes to run with a story a bit. I want someone a little bit more credible to give me those updates on Casemiro. Could he ask for his wages like Wan-Bissaka? No, because Saudi apparently are going to give him his wages, whereas West Ham didn't give Wan-Bissaka the wages he was on. Do you think we'll struggle to bring in loan players without spending? Guys like Rash out on loan. Do you think we'll struggle to bring? I think we will. If we loan a player out, we'll bring a player in on loan. If we sell a player, there's more possibility of it being a sale. I think if we loan Rashford out, we might get Kolo Muani on loan. Because I think right now Rashford is looking like a loan. Casemiro is looking like a sale, but Rashford is looking like a loan. And I think if Rashford is loaned out, then I think and it's only Rashford that goes and he's only loaned out, then I think the only deals we do coming in is a loan. I think if Casemiro comes in, there's more funds there to do a permanent deal. If Casemiro leaves for 20 million and we also save 20 million a year off his wages, there's the funds there for potentially looking at Nuno Mendes. Apparently, we're not getting a left wing back until the summer. Is that coming from credible sources? I wouldn't say Samuel Lutkers is the most credible source of information. Fabrizio Romano is saying that we will sign a left wing back in 2025 and we're looking for opportunities in January if the right option and the funds arrive. But Fabrizio Romano said without a sale, a left wing back is unlikely. But there's talk of Casemiro sale, there's talk of Eriksen exit, there's talk of Rashford exit, and there's even talk of Garnacho exit as well. There's also updates about Kvaratskhelia to United. I've seen someone mention that. I will dive into that in a second. That could be an opportunity as well. But yes, Casemiro to Saudi, very close apparently. Apparently the deal is practically closed and he's agreed to it. We also found out yesterday that Cristiano Ronaldo wants Casemiro by his side at Al Nassr. And the Al Nassr are continuing to push for the signing of Casemiro this transfer window. Sources in Saudi confirmed Cristiano Ronaldo is pushing the CAO to sign Casemiro and believes he'll be a fantastic fit for the side. All parties involved in the deal are hoping it will move as quickly as possible, said Sam C. So again, Casemiro, his agent, Man United, Saudi apparently all want this Casemiro deal to be concluded quickly. So I think it's definitely going to be one to watch in the next few hours. Why are United not trying to get Douglas Luiz? Well, some reports say we are. There's lots of mixed reports on Douglas Luiz because some reports are coming out saying United are looking to get Douglas Luiz. They're one of the teams in. They've opened talks. Other reports are saying, well, United aren't particularly interested in Douglas Luiz. I think if Eriksen or Casemiro goes, it's massively one to watch depending on what we can get him for. 100% think it could be one to watch because if you go here, Nottingham Forest could join the race to take Douglas Luiz on loan with the old lady already offering the player to Man City and Manchester United and Fulham. Man City and Manchester United. Man City are most in need of midfielders, but they look to be bringing in that guy from Lecce. Manchester United, I think would win the race for Douglas Luiz out of Fulham and Nottingham Forest. I think we win the race for Douglas Luiz. And I think if Casemiro does go and we need another midfielder, another pair of legs, then Douglas Luiz is who you look at. I wouldn't spend money on Douglas Luiz, but if we can get him on a 6-month loan because we lose Casemiro, it makes a lot of sense. The news on Maino and Casemiro is the news on Maino and Garnacho is they're not untouchable, but we're not actively looking to sell them. Potentially with Garnacho, if a big bid comes in, then United could be convinced because of PSR issues. But I think the journalists that got this story on Maino and got the story on Garnacho, some of them like Jamie Jackson, try to turn it into a scaremongering piece that Maino and Garnacho are going to be sold, when Ornstein said that no, Maino and Garnacho aren't going to be sold. United aren't looking to sell them, but if a big offer comes in, United can't rule out selling them because of PSR. They're not untouchable. What about Mbeumo, one of the best strikers as well? Really hard-working and also scores. Yeah, we've been linked to Mbeumo, but we've been linked to Mbeumo by Facheus. Now, Facheus, for me, are one of the worst sources of information out there. So while I like Mbeumo, we've actually been linked to Mbeumo by Facheus, I just think Facheus is like a dog water level source of information. I think it is like gutter dog water source. So again, we've been linked to Mbeumo. Apparently, we were going to make a move from in January, but it didn't come from a source of information that I personally would trust or believe. So I don't think there's much in the Mbeumo news. But I do like Mbeumo, and I would like him at United as well. Ron with Ronaldo's looking at the situation trying to help us. I think Casemiro would be suited to the Saudi league because it's slower. It's not about covering ground as much. And I think, it makes sense for Casemiro to go to Saudi. He's going to get his wages. So it's the easiest way for him to leave without us having to pay him off. But I think Ronaldo's thinking about actually Al Nassr could do a midfielder. And he likes playing with Casemiro and all of that. According to Portuguese media record, buying a Victor Gyökeres as a replacement for Kane, they might be Victor Gyökeres can leave in the summer for 60 million. There's a lot of stories coming in. Gyökeres is not going anywhere till the summer, from what's been said though. But lots of mixed reports as well. Alice, who do you think will be the biggest signing of the January window? That's difficult because I don't think loads of clubs have loads of money to spend. I don't know what the biggest signing would be. I think it depends on sales. Osterham could be a big one, but again, don't know if I see it happening. Rashford, if he goes on a permanent, is a big one, but it looks like it's going to be a loan. I don't know. What do you guys think could be the biggest deal this window? I don't think there's going to be any massive deals, because if you look at players like Cunha and Buemo, Semenyo, doesn't look like it. Maybe Marmoush to City. Yeah, probably Marmoush to City, who I don't know why, because they're going to get relegated, hopefully. But probably Marmoush to City is looking like the biggest deal of the window. Time to give the youth buzz a run. Kokonki being Cherry, Scanlon, to name a few. I think Kokonki's got the highest chance of potentially getting a run in and getting in the side. So we're going to dive into some more news. We're going to dive into some more stories here. One sec. Bear with. Sorry, I just got an update, but I was wondering if there's any news. So, what has been said on Christian Eriksen? Eriksen is now expected to leave Manchester United this month. Eriksen has also been reportedly looking for exits. Now, Christian Eriksen is a player that Manchester United are more than willing to offload this month because he's out of contract in the summer. He's on over 150 grand a week, and he's not exactly playing. Like, Ruben Amorim is not playing Casemiro. He's not playing Eriksen. Now, Christian Eriksen was up for sale in the summer. He ended up staying. He ended up playing quite well when Erik ten Hag was here. But since Ruben Amorim's come in, Eriksen has no role at Manchester United. Now, Eriksen's in a position where he knows that he's either not going to play much or any football at all for the next sort of 6 months, but then he's going to have loads and loads and loads of choice in the summer. He's going to have loads and loads of choice in the summer. Well, I say loads and loads of choice, more choice. I don't know how much choice he'll get, but he can have a lot more choice in the summer, and he can get like a signing on bonus for being a free agent and stuff. Eriksen is essentially in a position where in the summer, he's going to have a lot more choice, and he could get a bonus if he joins a club. But Eriksen knows that he's not going to get minutes under Ruben Amorim. He's not really in the plans. So because of that, Christian Eriksen himself is also looking at clubs, and apparently wants to leave because he doesn't want to sit on the bench. And if a right offer comes in, he will leave. Now, Christian Eriksen, it will depend on who comes in for him, but he's set to leave Manchester United this month if a club that he's interested in comes for him. Apparently, his agent is out there talking to people. Eriksen is open to the move. United are open to the move. Eriksen is expected to leave Manchester United in January, but it depends on the offers that Eriksen gets. Is he going to wait to the summer for a better offer, or is he going to make that move in January because he wants to play football? Who would you replace Casemiro with? Ederson of Atalanta, if we could get him. Ederson of Atalanta. Let me know down below who you'd replace Casemiro with. I do like Stiller. Ederson of Atalanta is more of a Casemiro replacement, but I do like Stiller as well. I think if I was to replace Eriksen and Casemiro, I'd be looking at like a Stiller and an Ederson, one that's more off the ball, one that's more on the ball as well. Can't see a lot of activity, a lot of real activity with transfers happening. January window is never easy, yeah. I think things will massively heat up in the summer window. January window is quite quiet. Hi, Alice. If Eriksen and Casemiro leave in January, our midfield, our pants, who would you promote from the academy? That's a difficult one because it's about knowing how ready certain players are in the academy. You've got Dan Gore, but I think we want to put him out on loan. Morehouse has been really impressive lately, but he's come back from a big injury. Thwaites has been good. JC Fitzgerald's a versatile player, but it's such a step up. I think Sekou Kone, had he not got that injury, would probably have been the closest to coming through. But he's picked up an injury. I would just be looking at seeing if we could get a Douglas Luiz on loan, to be honest. Belieber, Stiller, Belieber, Ederson, all players that I really, really like. So the people that didn't like Agate are the people that don't like Ederson to Man United. But considering that Agate's been good, I'm not really listening to the tacticos that don't like Agate. There's tacticos out there on like Twitter that didn't want us to sign Agate and would have rather us signed Enzo Laffi, which is crazy because Enzo Laffi's going to Sunderland, which is a massive bag for Sunderland. So the people that are being negative about people like Ederson, I don't really listen to because they just like certain profiles of players, I think. Any news about Main on his contract? Apparently he wants 200k a week, and do you reckon he will leave if he doesn't get paid the match? I don't think he wants 200k a week. I think that was an agent brief as part of a game to scare United into getting him a good deal. I think he'll get a contract sorted. I don't think he'll be on 200k a week, and I think he'll stay at United for a much less than 200k a week. I think Maino will be fine. I think now the Ahmad contract sorted, United are focusing on Maino. He's got 2.5 years left on his deal. I'm not worried at all. If we get Douglas on loan, that would be a massive upgrade. I'd like him on loan, but permanent, I'd be a bit skeptical, but it would be a big upgrade, especially if we just for the legs that we need in midfield, and we know that he can do it in the Premier League. But Christian Eriksen is now expected to depart Manchester United this month, set to leave Manchester United, which doesn't particularly surprise me, actually. But I think with Eriksen, as I said before, I think it depends on offers, because he could get a lot more offers in the summer. He's one of those people that he might be open to, one of those people that's open to the exit but could wait till summer if he's not happy with any of the offers that come in for him. Guys, let me know what players you'd like in midfield. People are talking about Stiller, Belieber, Edison, Douglas Luiz. Is there anyone you'd want in midfield? It doesn't have to be necessarily a January signing. It could be a summer signing. You know, Bruno Guimaraes would be the dream, but we're not going to get him. But is there anyone out there that you think would be some top signing even in summer if we had like 40-50 million to spend within some level of realisticness? I mean, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Bruno Guimaraes, we're talking dreamland, but I don't see any of them happening. Lee Kang news is that we're just looking at him and we're interested in the player, and I actually think he is better suited to Amorim's system than Luis Enrique's system. I'd like Caicedo at United, but that's never going to happen, is it? I wanted us to sign Caicedo instead of Mason Mount. I made that very clear. But Caicedo was then going to be 100 million, and I don't think we could have afforded that, to be honest. But yeah, I really wanted us to sign Caicedo. I said, look, I get Mason Mount coming in off the ball. I think he's a good player because I didn't know he was going to be injured that much. But yeah, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, he's been one of the best players he's probably been one of the best midfielders in Serie A. He's been unreal. Naipat, I don't think we're going to go for. We're going to go for ready-made players, but yeah, he's been unreal in Serie A this season, hasn't he? Bellingham's brother could be, you know, left or right 10 potentially. Would you take Pogba back? Pogba back on a free. Part of me is tempted because I think he would work really well in the 10 role under Amorim, but he hasn't played in a while. He's probably a bit finished. I go Patrick Dorgu, versatile left wing back, right wing back, midfield. I wouldn't play him in midfield though. I'd play him left wing back if we signed him. I wouldn't want him to come in if we lost Casemiro. I want a midfielder in. Drewsbury Hall's one to look at. Chelsea aren't playing him. Drewsbury Hall is one to look at, potentially. Even on a loan, it could be one to look at. So let's dive into the latest on Marcus Rashford. I'm a bit bored of talking about Marcus Rashford, to be honest. So until we've actually got like an actual agreement, I'm not going to do too much on the Rashford situation because we get stories and updates coming in on Rashford. But this is the latest on Marcus Rashford as of now. And that is that Rashford to Dortmund is unlikely because AC Milan are pushing for Rashford. AC Milan are expected to tell Manchester United that they'll only pay about half of Rashford's wages. I think United want about 70% paid. It was also said that Juventus, Milan, Borussia Dortmund, West Ham, Arsenal and Como are all interested in loan moves. Rashford's priority is AC Milan. Rashford also has interest from West Ham. They've kept me informed of the situation. But Marcus Rashford, one of the things he's actually done is played down the Como links. And Fabrizio Romano confirmed this. This is because Rashford wouldn't leave Manchester United for money. He's not leaving Manchester United for money. He's leaving Manchester United because he wants to do what's best for his career. And that's why he's played down the Como links. It's not about get out of Man United, all means necessary. It's about what could be best for his career. And as the Muppeteers said, Rashford won't leave for money. He wants it to be a significant club to earn back his place in the England squad if he departs Manchester United, is what's said as well. Chelsea could listen to offers for Drewsbury Hall, said Fabrizio Romano. I mean, that's been a stinker of a signing. If we'd signed Drewsbury Hall and not played it, the media would be talking about how big of a flop it is. Drewsbury Hall being a flop at Chelsea's really gone under the radar. Really, really gone under the radar. How much money do United have in regards to PSR? We don't have like loads, but I don't think we're as broke as we try and make out. The Premier League is Victor Osimhen's most likely destination, but he won't move to the summer, is another report coming out. Replace Casemiro with Edison or Subamendi or Guimaraes. De Jong bit injury prone now, not Douglas Luiz. Subamendi would be a nice one. Subamendi, especially because of the fact that he rejected Liverpool. Subamendi would be nice. Someone said, do you think we'd go for Kudus? Well, we've got Ahmad. I think I don't know if we go for Kudus, but I like Kudus. But I think we're looking for left hand more than right hand. I think we're looking for left hand, left wing back, striker, another centre back, another midfielder with legs, and then potentially a right wing back. I think that's what we're looking at. Sign Ostenham or Jokeres, not Kolo Muani. Look, if we had the funds, I think we would go out and sign one of them over Kolo Muani, but it's about PSR, it's about the funds, and that will massively depend on sales and who we get out the door and who we manage to sell. But I think if we had the funds, then we would be pushing for maybe an Ostenham or another striker in January, but we don't have the funds. That's why Kolo Muani is the most likely. The one thing about Kolo Muani is he could play as a 10 or as a striker, and I think him being a ball carrier does suit Ruben Amorim's system more than Enrique's system. But ideally, I don't want Kolo Muani. But if we lose Rashford, I want an attacking reinforcement. And if it's Kolo Muani on loan and we don't have to buy him, it's better than nobody. But yeah, Ostenham would be unbelievable. Dibbling I like, Delap I like, someone just mentioned earlier. Yeah. What's the news on Dibbling and Delap? Both summer. Wait till summer. Because if Ipswich and Southampton get relegated, they'll be cheaper. But I know Dibbling we like because we think he can do right wing back and right 10, and very similar profile to Ahmad there. We like Dibbling. I think for me, my ideal window would be Dibbling, Jokeres, Cunha, which probably not going to happen. 3 attackers. Then it would be Nuno Mendes if we can get him in January. Left centre back like Schlotterbeck and a midfielder like Baliba. That would be my dream, but I don't think that's the most realistic as well. Monaco have good midfielders. I liked Yusuf Afana of Monaco, who went to Milan in the end. Continuing on. Oh, I just clicked on the wrong thing. It was said that West Ham have been asked to be informed of the Rashford situation. Imagine Rashford having like a J-Lings S-loan at West Ham, scores like 14 goals and gets like 6 assists in 10 games. That would be absolutely insane. But look, Rashford said he wouldn't go to rivals. West Ham aren't rivals, so I think Rashford would consider West Ham over Arsenal. But Rashford wants to go to a club where he thinks he can get back in the England squad. And I think AC Milan is seen as the priority right now. I do think Rashford at Bayern. I could see Rashford at Bayern, but they're not going for him. But I could really see Rashford at Bayern. So let's talk about Garnacho, because Rashford is far more likely to leave than Garnacho, and I think Garnacho leaving reports have been exaggerated. He's only 19 or 20. He's still a kid. But I think in the summer, if someone comes in with 60, 70 million for Garnacho, I do think it's something that the club consider, because I don't know if he's a proper long-term fit for Amorim's system, but I also know that he's out of form. And actually, let's see him get back into form and see how he does in Amorim's system when he's back in form to see if he suits it. So I think people are judging Garnacho a little too early because he's a teenager in an unstable environment. I think there's elements of his game he needs to improve, of course, mentality, of course. But I think people are harsh on Garnacho and writing him off too early. But I do worry, does he fit the system properly? But it was said that Manchester United need a sale in order to meet PSG's 50 million valuation for Nuno Mendes. And Garnacho did come up in talks between United and PSG. Now, I don't think we're going to do any deal that involves Garnacho going one way and Mendes going the other way, because one is a young winger that's probably worth a lot more than Mendes, with much longer left on his contract. Nuno Mendes is a wing back with an injury record. Atletico Madrid are keeping tabs on Alejandro Garnacho, and Manchester United would consider a sale if a big money offer came in. And PSG are also keeping tabs on Garnacho, but no offer from them yet. So there is interest from PSG and Atletico Madrid and Garnacho. Now, I think Garnacho in January, I don't see anything happening. Teams don't spend big in January. But I think in summer, with the interest that we've got in Garnacho, somebody could put in a bid that United may accept in the summer, depending on what their long-term plan is for Garnacho and the PSR situation. I don't see anything happening now. I don't think we'd use him in a deal for Nuno Mendes because he's worth a bit more than Nuno Mendes. But I think Garnacho exit is potentially one to watch in the summer. He's got a lot of interest in him. But I don't think anything will happen in January as well. Rashford isn't starting ahead of Kudus or Bowen, but he'd start ahead of Somerville. You'd have Bowen probably playing in the middle up top, Rashford on the left, Kudus on the right, because Bowen can play in the middle. I think that would be it, because Kudus and Bowen prefer the right, Rashford prefers the left. Rashford would start West Ham, for sure, but I don't think he wants to go to West Ham. I think he wants to go to a bigger club, not a club that's 14th. What is your thought on Kepram Turam? I think he's a good midfielder, but I wasn't that fussed about him. If I was going to be totally honest. But I think he's been good for Juventus. But again, I like the player, but I don't see him moving anywhere. It's Douglas Luiz they want to offload. Raise money by selling then buy good players. Rashford and Xerxes sales could afford Osimhen or Gyökeres. Gyökeres, we've got a gentleman's agreement. We won't buy him until summer. Osimhen potentially, but if we want to buy Gyökeres in summer, there's no point getting Osimhen in January. But I know what you mean as well. I think it's more likely Antony gets sold than Garnacho. Manchester United would much rather sell Antony than Garnacho. The problem is no one wants to buy Antony. Only Olympiacos want to loan Antony. The problem is there's basically zero interest in Antony. That's the problem. So Garnacho leaving is probably not what Ineos would want. They would want Antony out the door, because if Garnacho and Rashford leave Man United before Antony, it's a disgrace when you think about it, because Antony is much worse. But you've got to be realistic. We can't get Antony out the door. There's teams that want Rashford, there's teams that want Garnacho. Nobody wants Antony. So while Antony wants the move and United would like to sell Antony, I think Antony going in the summer is a possibility, even if it's on loan. I think United are desperate to get him gone. There's still a possibility that Garnacho could go before Antony, which on paper is quite crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of teams keeping tabs on Garnacho, interested in him. So will be interesting to see how this story develops. PSG after Kvaratskhelia, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a second, because I've got a bit of Kvaratskhelia news to get into. But let's just talk about Nuno Mendes, and then we'll talk about Kvaratskhelia. But Romano just tweeted this. More on PSG and Kvaratskhelia's story. PSG and Napoli in direct contact as PSG step up efforts to make deal happen now. Open to offering players, including Skriniar. What I will say, let's actually get this on the screen, because we're going to talk about Nuno Mendes in a second. But what I will say in regards to this is maybe if we buy Nuno Mendes, we can fund this move. PSG are open to Kvaratskhelia. PSG and Napoli in direct contact. PSG step up efforts to make deal happen now. Open to offering players. So PSG and Napoli are in direct contact over a Kvaratskhelia deal. There's direct contact. There's talk going on over a Kvaratskhelia deal. So potentially PSG to have that money in January, could that come from a sale of someone like Nuno Mendes? Now, I'd like Kvaratskhelia at United, and I will talk about that in a second. That's one to keep an eye on. So this has been said on Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes is very interested in joining Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. PSG are not overly worried. They see this as the usual game of current negotiations. New talks will take place soon between PSG and Mendes representatives. But Nuno Mendes has indicated to PSG that he would like a chance to play for Ruben Amorim at United. So Nuno Mendes would like to play for Ruben Amorim at United, is pushing for a move, is pushing for a sale. PSG now pushing for Kvaratskhelia. Potentially, Rashford goes on loan to Milan. Casemiro goes to Saudi. We have funds for Nuno Mendes. PSG have funds for Kvaratskhelia. Could it be a domino effect? Napoli selling Kvaratskhelia to get Rashford? I mean, that's always a possibility as well. Napoli selling Kvaratskhelia could free up them funds for Rashford to do a permanent. You never know. It'll be interesting to see what the developments are on those. It was said that Napoli's new contract offer for Kvaratskhelia remains available on the table, but there's still no answer from them, and that PSG have significant competition from United for Kvaratskhelia. The departure of Rashford would push them to strengthen offensively. Manchester United have also not ruled out the possibility of getting Kolo Muani on loan, which would help PSG bring Kvaratskhelia. But United apparently willing to compete with PSG for Kvaratskhelia. So it could be interesting. To afford Mendes, you have to sell Shaw and Malacia, or sell the low. I think one sale could give us the funds to go for a left wing back, because it is priority. Someone said swap between Rashford and Kvaratskhelia. I mean, that could be one to watch. If we do want Kvaratskhelia, it's definitely one to watch. I have a feeling PSG are going to win the race, and I have a feeling PSG are going to win the race for Kvaratskhelia. They seem more in from, they seem more determined, but this could be one to watch. Like, generally, this could be one to watch. This could be something potentially exciting to watch, because would Rashford going to Napoli give us the funds for Kvaratskhelia? Could we entertain some kind of swap deal? Or does PSG getting Kvaratskhelia mean there'd be more interest on them selling Nuno Mendes? I do think the January transfer window is always a domino effect because of PSR. But I think if we go and buy someone, and someone else sells someone, and someone else buys someone, there's always a bit of a domino effect going on in the transfer window. Someone said, I think Dorgu has a higher ceiling than Nuno Mendes. He might do, but I think Nuno Mendes makes an impact now. But I would love Kvaratskhelia in Manchester United. I'd absolutely love it. But if I was to guess, I think Kvaratskhelia would be going to PSG. If I was to guess. But if Napoli could have the money to then... Rashford is the perfect Kvaratskhelia replacement. So if Napoli sell him, even if it's to PSG, they have the money to do Rashford permanently, which then gives us the funds to invest elsewhere if you can't get Kvaratskhelia. But Premier League is a better league than the Serie A. The Premier League is a better league than the Serie A. So, sorry, not Serie A. Serie A is probably the second best league for me. Premier League's a much better league than League 1. So I think potentially the Premier League pool could help us, but PSG are in the Champions League, we're not. PSG have the Champions League pool, they can beat us for money. Fabrizio doesn't link Kvaratskhelia to United once. He said we have interest in him. Tanzolix obviously linked us to him. He said that we like him and we appreciate him, but he's only been properly linked to PSG by Romano. But it's definitely one to watch, this Kvaratskhelia story for sure. I'll talk about that in more detail maybe in my show tonight. And Luke Shaw is on track to be back from injury. But I don't want to drag on this live show. I want to keep it to half an hour so people on the replay can get through the news quite quickly. But Kvaratskhelia, definitely one to watch. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. Bye.